Welcome to Flivver Channel Talks, the podcast about pre-war cars and stuff. Today we are joined by Randahl from the ShedByTheTracks YouTube channel. At ShedByTheTracks, Randahl shares his Model T Speedster build with us and mixes in equal parts of do-it-yourselfer philosophy and dry wit to make it hilarious and oh so entertaining. And all the great music on his channel is performed by Randahl himself. ShedByTheTracks is in Iowa. That's in the United States of America. Although it can be kind of confusing because the shed is right next to a Canadian National Railway line. Randahl insists that he is not Canadian, but we won't hold that against him. He has christened his Model T Speedster the Prairie Flyer. Randahl is very modest and will insist that his Model T build is humble, but in my mind it's fantastic. I think it's awesome. Randahl, thanks for joining us today. Welcome to Flivver Channel.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I understand that you have a new sidekick on the program. What's it like sharing the spotlight with Earl?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, he just wandered into the yard and picked me, I guess.
So he's a stray?
Yeah, he just showed up. I started seeing him last May. He kept getting closer. Finally, one time in June, he just jumped up on my lap, and here he is.
So how did you get started on the Model T Speedster project?
Well, I retired, and I thought going out and buying my first new car would be the thing to do, and I did, and everything worked perfectly on it, and somehow that was just disappointing. So I decided that I would get me a project, and so I kept looking on Marketplace on Facebook, and finally this one came up over there in Illinois, and my son and we got a trailer and went over there in the middle of COVID and broke every rule we could because we didn't know. We wanted the car. We didn't know you were supposed to do a bunch of other stuff. So we went over there and got it and brought it home, and I've been working on it since, and that'll be 3 years.
So you had this image in your mind's eye of a Model T Speedster. Were you imagining high speeds and sharp corners and all that sort of racing stuff? Or did you?
Yeah. I got the sharp corners, but I haven't got the speed yet.
They say Model Ts aren't generally known for their high speed performance, but maybe your Speedster is going to break that mold.
Well, in a urban environment like I'm in, it's definitely dangerous.
Fast enough to be dangerous. Yeah, I find that even with my bone stock Model T.
Yeah, it's everybody should learn to drive with the Model T because any amount of distracted driving and it will kill you immediately, right away. Just kill you right on the spot.
Yeah. And you need to really be looking far ahead, don't you? Because you need to anticipate what other people are doing because you're not going to be able to stop.
Oh no, there's
something silly.
You know what? You and I have a little bit of an advantage is we've got the 26 brakes, but man, it's still not that good. It was a chassis. You could call it a rolling chassis. I mean, the tires were shot. It was in a tree row, you know.
Okay.
with a tarp over the top of it. No body, you know, just motor, wheels, frame, steering column. I think that's it. Yeah.
So what was your vision? You only had a rolling chassis. What were you?
The vision
hoping to create.
The vision has always been a speedster. Through YouTube, I found what they call Edwardian racing over in the UK, and I fell in love with it. And of course, the price of that stuff is just stratospheric. You'll never be able to afford that. But I thought, maybe I could do it this way because other guys that did it back in the 20s and the teens, as fairground racers up there
Right.
in
Yep.
what is it, Edmonton or someplace up there. They have Model T races over in
They still
Alberta.
do, I think. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So, anyways, uh, I thought, well, that's as close as I'm going to get. So I need to start looking for a T, and I got it. And so I just went through books and videos and researched it on Google and all that. And that was the vision.
So it's just a rolling chassis and a motor. What kind of condition was it in?
Terrible, just awful. Uh, I've I've got some video of it on my channel of what it looked like, just still pictures because I hadn't started my channel at that time, and
Mhm.
it's just pathetic. It's divorce material, is what it was.
You brought what home?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you
So
just started at it?
yeah, just I got it on a Saturday, and I got up and I watched church with my wife on TV Sunday morning, and went out and started working on it, and I've been working on it since.
So we're just start on the motor.
First thing I took off was the carburetor, and I cleaned all the spider nests out of it and looked at it and said, "Yep, that's in bad shape," and threw it in a coffee can. That was it. I
Oh,
just kept taking things off and cleaning them and getting ideas, and eventually I had wire wheeled everything and started putting things back together.
so with only a rolling chassis to start with, you would have had to fabricate just about everything.
Yep, I did.
Did you work with Model T hood and
Yep.
windshields, and
No.
what did you find to as a starting point to build it up?
Um, I had a radiator and I had a hood, and I
Okay, cool.
kind of just kept clamping bits on and taking bits off and making things out of cardboard and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
eventually it grew into something. And then once I had the basic outline, then I knew I could proceed from there.
Right. Now, I noticed you just said cardboard. I remember in one of your videos you explained how you use CAD to design your fabrications.
Yeah, yeah, cardboard
Cardboard and determination. Oh, I
and
laughed so hard I
determination.
fell off
Yeah,
my
yeah,
chair.
there you go.
That
Yep.
was fabulous. Oh, great.
Cardboard and determination. Oh yeah.
And how much of the original car remains?
Um, frame, motor, um, rear end, front axle. Let's see what else. Bits and pieces here and there. Uh, the wheels have been replaced by good old stock.
Mhm.
Um, and then the body, aside from the hood and the surround of the radiator, I've pretty much pieced together out of my own ideas and from old
Mhm.
photographs and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. You've got a lot of custom coach work.
Yeah, yeah. Nothing,
Yeah,
nothing
it's nice.
fancy. If you were standing here right beside it, you'd agree. Nothing fancy.
Oh, do you think the camera makes it look uh,
Yeah,
more fancy than it is?
yeah. It takes 20 years off for sure.
That's good. I guess they say for people it adds a few pounds. I guess for cars it takes 20 years off. I like that.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but that's what was left of it. It
Yeah.
was sad. It was so sad. I really like the looks of your tea. Man,
Oh,
that's
thanks.
nice looking. Very nice.
It my dad bought it in, I don't know, around 2001, just from a guy in Woodstock. It was like 15 minutes from here.
Yeah.
And it my dad knew it wasn't restored or perfect, but he always wanted the runabout. He had a coupe, and he had to sell the coupe to be able to buy the runabout. That's kind of the deal that he had with my mom, one at a time.
Yeah.
And then he had plans to, fully restore it. Then he became ill and eventually passed away. So really, he only drove it 3 or 4 times, and
Oh
two
my.
of those were with me. Yeah, I like that it hasn't been restored, and I really don't think I ever will, ground up restore it. I'm going to restore pieces of it because they need doing, like the front axle and the rear axle and things like that.
Uh-huh.
I think, and I hope I never have to do the body on it because I just love the old beat
Oh
up
yeah.
patina that it has.
The body's perfect in the video. This looks great.
It's it's rock solid, but I mean it's paint flaking everywhere and scratches and dings, and I love it because I could go wailing down the gravel roads and I don't have a thought,
Yeah.
right? Like and it just loves the gravel roads. Oh,
Oh.
it's like a puppy when you take him off the leash. As soon as you get on the gravel road, the thing he just gets happy, right?
Oh, all the steering shimmy goes away.
Yeah. Oh, it's true. It's true. And everything just gets better unless it's washboard, and then it
Yeah.
gets very very bad very quickly. I don't even have snubbers like you found for yours. Although I'm seriously thinking about trying to find some somewhere someday.
Yeah. I think they make a difference, or I've just talked myself into it. One or the other.
As long as you think they make a difference, then they did
Yeah.
exactly what they should.
Yeah.
Have you always been a car guy?
Well, yeah. As much as I could afford it. Uh, Mostly, I've been in the RC model airplane adventures and model trains,
Mhm.
and and
Right.
I've always loved. I've driven since I was 12, so I've always been about cars.
Right. Right. Well, what was the first car you drove then when you were 12?
When I was 12, the first one I drove was a '64 Belvedere with a three on the tree.
Oh, I drove a three on the tree when I was younger. Those were not easy to drive.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
found
and
that
they,
tricky.
of course, because of our economic situation, none of ours were new by any means. So when you would shift from low up into second, there was always a chance it'd get hung up in the middle and
Hmm.
you'd have to stop and
Then you
take a
have to
big
start over
screwdriver
again.
and unjam it.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. Yeah. My family, we never had a new car. I was the first in our family to have a new car, and that wasn't until I was 50, probably. Yeah. I know where you're coming from. First car I drove was an Austin Mini.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was my high school car. Fix it every
Wow.
weekend, drive it all week. And parts were hard to come by in those days, let me tell you. I had a standing order at every wrecking yard in the area. If the Mini ever came in, I got first dibs.
Oh,
Tear everything
wow.
I could off the thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that got me through the first couple of years of college too. But boy, I was spending more time fixing it than studying, and not because I was treating it as a hobby, just to keep it running.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
did not like winter. It did not like winter. Oh, it was bad.
Austin Mini. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and
that's.
I'm 6'2", so it was a tight
Oh,
squeeze.
oh, yeah, I'll bet. I'll bet.
But you learn to turn wrenches and anticipate traffic and all that sort of thing too, because nobody sees you in that thing.
Well, no, all the cars we learned to drive on when we were kids, the brakes were non-existent. You were, every 20 miles you're guaranteed a flat tire of some sort. And you just had to deal with all that stuff. Now, here, go on my grandpa rant here. Now you got, perfectly healthy young men standing behind or beside their car along the road because they can't change a tire. What's that?
Yeah. Well, I know exactly what you mean. If the carburetor froze full throttle in the winter, then you just drove full throttle and shut it off whenever you needed to slow down, start it
Oh,
up
yeah.
when you needed to go. And
Yeah,
eventually it'll thaw out and back to normal.
sure.
Yeah, you just adapt.
Well,
That's been
yeah.
good training for Model Ts now, because it's kind of the
Oh,
same.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. All that, all those farmer fixes, they really help out now.
Did did you know about Model Ts before you got started on the Speedster project, or has that been your Model T learning experience?
Yeah, I didn't really, mechanically, I didn't know nothing about them. I just knew they existed.
Hmm.
I,
Have you found it surprising?
well, yeah, they're a whole different animal. I mean, there's just nothing like them.
Hmm. Yeah, it's one of the reasons I really like them. They're just so unique, so simple, but so much thought went into making them simple. I
Yeah,
really have respect for the engineers.
yeah, they're so simple that it's just sometimes so hard to figure out why things aren't working.
Yeah.
They're like a toy car. You can take them all apart and put them back together, and if you don't like it, you can start over.
Yeah. And sometimes you have a few pieces left over and you have to decide whether it's not a problem or whether you need to take it apart and find out where those pieces were from.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. Yep. The engine was in bad shape when I got it. I mean,
Oh.
valves were stuck and rusted, and it turned over, but that's all it did. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought, I'm not going to sink a bunch of money into this. I'm going to clean everything. I'm going to put new valves in it. Um, Whatever it takes to get it to fire and nothing more.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Right.
if I end up with a door stop, I don't want to have a lot of money in it.
And so you resurrected that old engine. That's an amazing thing about Model Ts, isn't it? They're so simple, I guess,
Oh, yeah.
that the motors can be resurrected even from a pretty sorry state.
Oh, yeah. And it was nasty.
So it's got your original pistons and connecting rods, and
Yeah.
or did you have to
I
replace all that? No.
I spent a whole afternoon with a cold chisel chiseling out carbon out of the bottoms of those pistons. You wouldn't believe it.
That's a lightweight modification. See,
Yeah, there
high
you go.
performance pistons.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Oh,
that's the cast iron pistons, the original ones.
yep.
Amazing.
Cast iron. There's new rings.
Okay.
They're new old stock,
Right.
and the valves are new because they were just
Hmm.
there wasn't anything left of them.
Right.
And I had to ream the shafts, the hole for the shaft to go
Hmm.
through, and all that. But yeah, and I ground them by hand with this.
Oh
That's
no,
the
though.
way I did.
That's you must have spent a lot of time
That was a couple weeks I'll never get back. I'll tell you what.
carpal tunnel in your hands and elbows too.
Yeah.
Wow,
Oh yeah.
that's amazing. So you lapped all the valves until they sealed up. Nice.
Till the pits were gone. It's got good compression too. Surprisingly, I every time I crank it over, I can't believe it's actually got compression.
Excellent. Well, that's good. And you have to crank it by hand, or have you got electric start?
I don't have an electric start. Just crank it.
Hmm. So you feel it. You can tell when you have a compression problem that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I watched your compression show here about 20 minutes or half hour
Oh,
ago.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't understand any of it.
Oh well. I'll have to do a better job next time then,
No,
I guess.
it's not. Trust me, it's you. It's me, not you.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting figuring out that differential compression trick. It's kind of neat. I didn't
Well,
makes sense when you do it for sure.
as soon as you mentioned aircraft engine, I knew I was going to be in over my head.
Yeah. Well, that's I'm blessed with having a brother who's an aircraft mechanic, so he's
Oh,
able to explain things to me that I wouldn't otherwise know of or even imagine. So, what are your plans for the Speedster this winter?
I'm lowering it uh, about 4.5, 5 inches all the way around.
Okay, that's another
Um,
performance modification.
oh yeah, I've got the front. You know, spoiler alert if you're watching my videos, but I've got the front done pretty much. And this morning, or I guess this afternoon, I just lowered the back end down to see how it was going to set with the new brackets, and it
Hmm.
it looks pretty good.
Well, if you're allowed to tell me how you're going to approach lowering the rear, I'd be really curious. But if that's secret until your videos are released, I understand.
Oh no, that's it. I don't have secrets. No, I can tell you right away. No, it'll save somebody along the line some pain of actually watching the video if I just tell you now. Um, actually, I bought the lowering brackets off of eBay.
Oh, okay.
There's a guy on there in California that sells them. They're heat treated aluminum, and they're hard. Believe me, I tried. If you take a saw to one, you'll find out they're hard. Um, I didn't want to use them. I wanted to make my own, but for the price of the acetylene gas to bend up material and the time it would take, it just wasn't worth it. So I uh, I asked Kyle up there at Carter Hairdressing or whatever it
Mhm.
is. I asked him because he had used them, and he said, "Yeah, they were fine." So I just went on his advice. So if it cracks in half and kills me, I want somebody to sue him.
Well, I think you can trust Kyle's advice.
So yeah, that's I. They're a simple bolt-in thing. The only thing of it is the rear cross member that the spring fits up into
Hmm.
changed in 26. Of course
Okay.
it did.
Yeah.
So it's wider. So you've got
Hmm.
to modify the brackets to fit,
Oh,
and then
okay.
you have to modify. You have to notch out your cross member and stuff. It took quite a bit to get it done, but it's okay now.
Awesome. So when you have the car lowered and even racier than before, what you got plans for this summer? You're gonna take it on some trips or do some
Well,
racing or something?
actually, before summer yet, um, I'm going to take the head off of it, and I'd like to put in. I've got uh, not a new, but a better set of connecting rods,
Okay.
and I'm going to put in some high compression pistons in it, some aluminum ones,
Oh my.
and I'd
So
like to try to balance the rods and whatnot, and then see if how much more that gives me. And I'd like to mess with the gearing too. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but that's the plan so far.
oh wow, that's exciting.
When you when you get over 60, plans are just plans.
They're fluid. They can
Yeah,
change.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You
Figure it out as you
you
go along sometimes.
you quit buying green bananas.
That's thinking too far ahead. Oh dear. Well, that's pretty neat. Now, do you go on trips or?
Oh no, I've never trusted my own work to leave too far from home. I did take it to a couple of. We have a Saturday night like cruise type thing on the avenue, we call it cruising the avenue. And there's a
Right.
Wells Fargo bank that we all park at.
Mhm.
And it's, I don't know, a couple miles from the house. So, I could push it that far if it quits. So
Well, you'll
I
need to venture farther than you can push it, I
yeah, yeah, I'm going to have to. I would love, the biggest problem for me is even though some of the video I shoot looks like I'm close to the edge of town, I'm really not. And it
think.
is a
Okay.
struggle. I've got a long way to go with this thing at, 25 miles an hour to get out of town.
Okay.
But
What what were the steps in your speedster build that really stumped you or you found difficult?
the rear end just flummoxed me completely. Uh, I bought, I bought a lot of new stuff for it, shims and thrust washers and all this kind of stuff. And getting it figured out to where number one, when you put it back together, would actually turn. That was that was a biggie. To where it felt right and all that, and doing it without exactly the right tools, as usual. And yeah, I'm still to this day. Now it doesn't make any noise when I drive, but to this day, I'm amazed that it actually works. Because I done
I'm,
some,
I'm
I done some awful, awful sketchy stuff to that rear end when I put it together.
well, and that's your brakes too, right? Unless you grab the handbrake, all your braking force is going through that rear end as
Yeah.
well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I use it in conjunction with the transmission brake all the time because I've
Hmm.
moved it.
And you've learned
It's
you've
it's not up here. It's
yeah.
beside me, so it's easy to get.
So that's an emergency stop reflex now.
Yeah. Well, the rumor is the old wives' tale is that there was some consideration in 26 of hooking the back brakes to the pedal, but it never got
Okay.
any farther because Henry didn't like the idea.
Seems to
So
me there's a kit you can buy that does that. Actually, I
yeah,
seem to remember seeing something
yeah, yeah, you can get it from
interesting
Lang's or
because
any of them.
mhm, right. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Henry didn't like him messing with his toy. He just, you know,
Yeah, he didn't want that to change, did he?
I'm reading a book right now about Henry Ford. Big, thick,
Okay.
boring book about Henry Ford, and man, I didn't know it, but he struggled to read a blueprint. That's He was the idea man. This is what it should
Okay.
do. You guys go over there and figure out how to make it do it.
How to make it work, right?
Yeah.
Well, and he had big teams of very capable engineers because
Oh
they
yeah.
solved some incredibly difficult technological problems
Oh
to
yeah.
achieve his visions.
Yeah. I mean, look at everything else that was on the road in 1910 or whenever, and
Mhm.
they were all battleships, and he's making this little go
Mhm.
kart.
So you've become a modern YouTuber.
Yeah, how that happened, I'll never know.
have you been have you been sharing your Speedster project on YouTube from the beginning?
No, I worked on it probably 3 4 months before I just out of the blue. I thought, well, I was watching probably Cold War motors. That's what I was always watching. And I thought, well, I maybe could do this on a very small scale. So, my wife had a old Sony camera, and I set it up and just started, and the rest is history.
Yeah, now you're a going concern every, well, not every Saturday night, but many Saturday nights. Quite a group of quite a group of guys get together and talk about your latest video. It's become a bit of a regular thing.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, we're not a big group, but everybody that's there wants to be there, you know.
You're not forcing anyone.
No, I'm not forcing anyone. You know, you get 50 or 60,000 subscribers, and then I think a majority of them are there to pick it apart.
So what possessed you to publish on YouTube?
I just I saw a lot of other guys having fun at it, and the the shows that I liked were ones where I felt like I was just, sitting on a bucket in their garage watching them work, you know,
Hmm.
and just hanging out like I did when I was a
Yeah,
teenager. We hung out at each other's houses in the garages and you know
yeah,
done this and that.
yeah. I
So
like hard work too. I could watch it for hours.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, lay down right beside it and fall asleep.
I don't know how you do it. I have a great deal of respect for you guys that film your work and are able to share it because for me it's I need to do the work and then go back and do it again with the camera on sort of thing. It's I don't know. I got a lot to learn about this whole YouTube thing.
Well, it doesn't work the first time every time. uh, yeah, they're out of. I always say that for every show I record about 3 or 4 hours of video, and after I cut out the mistakes and the swearing, I got about 20 minutes.
That's about right. I think I probably have that much on the cutting room floor too. It
Yeah,
isn't unusual. I'm saying, okay, take 16 and then saying it all again.
but and that's when I'm watching somebody else. That's what I want. I don't want a scripted thing. I just want to hang out in their garage and whether it works or not, doesn't mean anything to me. Just I just hang out.
Hmm. That's great. Well, you've got a great following, and you can tell from those who join you on Saturday nights that they're really dedicated to following you and encouraging you. That's for sure.
Yeah, they are.
Now, have you met any of the people that you've met through YouTube? Have you met them in person?
No, no,
No. So they're all
no.
virtual
Well,
online friends.
the problem is, 80% of them live up there with you.
Oh,
So
north of the border.
yeah, and the other two are in Great Britain and New Zealand. So there's just I'm never
That's
gonna
even
meet
farther.
them. Yeah,
Why do you think you've connected so directly with the Canadians on YouTube?
I Iowa has this weird thing with Canada, and the first time I noticed it was red green. We just
Oh
went
yeah.
we just went gaga over red green. I mean, couldn't
Yeah.
get enough. And then when I
Hmm.
started watching YouTube, I noticed that there was some kind of connection.
Yeah. The the red green thing. Red green lives very close to me here, and they film in my area. So I've seen the possum van on the road, for example, and
Oh, neato.
I went to one of the live studio filmings. Although I didn't get chosen to put on the vest and do the possum
Oh,
pledge, I was a bit disappointed with that.
oh
I
yeah,
guess I wasn't as
yeah,
old and scruffy in those days.
yeah, yeah,
At least not old and scruffy enough. I didn't have my suspenders on. I don't have them on now
yeah. I put mine on in honor of
either.
that.
Excellent.
That and my pants won't stay up without them. So we we just took to it. I mean, hook, line, and sinker. Matter of fact, when my kids were younger, we had a little black and white TV. We'd go out in the backyard and have a fire, bonfire
Watch
or
red,
whatever you
green.
call it, and watch red green at night.
Red, green, and black and white. That's funny.
Black and white. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I remember the days before color.
Oh, I do
Uh,
too.
yeah, no, I was. I don't know how old I would have been when the world changed to color. At least in our living room. Yeah, I would have been 12 or 14 when that happened.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, it
Three
took a
channels,
while.
three channels, and rabbit ears.
Yeah. And
Yep.
everything on TV was good, unlike now where it all sucks. No, I can't really tell you why. Um, I guess we all just think we live out in the sticks. Even if we're in a big city, it's just a sticks, and it's cold. And then in the summertime, it's blister.
Yep.
Summertime, it just bakes us, So the weather's
Hmm.
pretty much the same.
Yep.
And I don't know. It's just
Well, it's great. I mean, I know I really seem to relate to your show and with you, so it feels comfortable talking to you. That's for sure.
it's it's just further south. That's all.
So I wanted to ask you about your music, and you do all the music in your show. You
Hmm.
write it and record it yourself.
Yeah, yeah. That's
It's amazing, and it adds a great layer to the soundscape of the videos I find, and it's so I don't know heartwarming that it's authentic and from you by you sort of thing.
yeah, and you can't get sued for it.
Well, there's that advantage as well, which I can't. You do not want me to try and play any musical instrument on YouTube.
Yeah,
I would get sued,
the
but not because of copyright laws.
yeah up there. Scott up at Cold War Motors, he does his too because it's just a quick, easy cheat to get around the copyright deal. That's why I do it, and it's fun.
So I've heard electric guitar and keyboard. Do you play other instruments too?
Well, bass. When I was a professional, I was a bass player and guitar, and my keyboard. I can tap around on it enough to pull some drums out of it. So that's basically what I got.
When you said when you were a professional, so you got to tell me a bit more about that.
Oh, I instead of being successful, I decided that I wanted to be in a band when I got out of high school.
Right.
So so I was a musician for I don't know 20 years or so.
Oh well, that explains it. All right,
Yeah,
because you're very good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That
So you're in a
what a
touring band or local?
no local band.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. What a awful way to make a living.
It
Just
would be difficult, I think.
awful. Yeah. Um, but it was fun, while it
Hmm.
lasted.
Yeah. Well, that explains a lot because your music's fantastic. I really
Well,
like it.
thank you. Thank you very much. Uh, funny story. I when I put that Christmas special together,
Right.
I used Jingle Bells and a couple others and Silent Night, which was written in 1818, and I got a copyright hit on it.
Oh, who thought that they owned that?
I got
Seriously.
no idea. And I kind of copied the one bit. I copied the Charlie Brown Peanuts theme a little bit.
Oh
I
yeah.
thought,
Okay.
for sure they're going to hit me on that, but nobody ever said anything. So when I got the thing back from YouTube and it said copyright claim, I thought, oh yeah, it's that Charlie Brown thing. I looked at it and it's Silent Night.
Oh gosh.
I mean, if anything's in the public realm, it's Silent Night.
I gotta believe so. Yeah. Good. So, do you like doing the editing and all the other steps in producing YouTube videos, or is that just a necessary evil?
I do enjoy it. Yeah, I think I'm kind of a geek when it comes to that. I mean, like what you're doing here with getting this all set up and all that, it might as well be Chinese to me. I don't understand it at all. But I've taught myself enough on a video program that I really enjoy it.
Oh, good.
Well, I enjoy watching your videos. I was watching yours today, and I thought this reminds me of somebody. And
Okay.
just before you were done, uh, did you ever have a show up there back in the 70s or 80s and 90s, Motor Trend? And there was
Yeah,
a
I think
guy
so.
called Mike Goss on there that would talk about what oil you should use and all this jazz. And
I
you
gotta look
really
that up.
remind your cadence and everything really reminds me of Mike Goss from Motor Trend.
That's funny. No, I'll look it up. Maybe I'll
Look it up.
recognize him. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
recognize him. Yeah, yeah.
Don't be too disappointed because you're going to find out he's dead now. But go ahead and look it up. Did you get a chance to check out any of those channels that I suggested there at Christmas time?
Oh yeah, I'm following, if not all of them, most of them now, and I'm trying to catch up. Some of them, like Kyle, he's got long videos, so
Oh yeah,
it's gonna take a
oh
long
yeah.
time to catch up. But wow, it's amazing seeing that kind of master craftsmanship that some of these guys have. It's to
I
watch it.
I can't I can't believe how he can just take absolute garbage and then it just turns into something beautiful.
It looks like it was just stamped out of
Yeah.
a factory, and
Yeah.
I've watched others do enough body work to know how hard it is what he's doing.
Oh
I've
yeah.
not really done much body work other than sanding, filling, painting sort of thing.
And the best thing about Kyle is his black humor and my black humor is
Oh
just
gosh.
just we're two
Set
peas in a
fire.
pod when
Oh
it
my
comes to that.
goodness. Oh my goodness.
I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We he made a comment on one of my videos. Oh man, it's got to be a year and a half ago or so, and I'd never heard of him. And I've got that black velvet painting of John Wayne hanging in the garage there.
Yep.
And he said, came for the Model T, stayed for the John Wayne painting. And I thought, yeah, I like how this guy thinks. And we've kind of went back and forth ever since. There's on YouTube, there's an old show that's on there from the UK about a steeplejack named Fred Dibna. I don't know if you've ever heard of him or not, but Google Fred Dibna, and you talk about he was into steam tractor engines, traction engines, and
Right.
the BBC used to have a little show with him on there, and his paying job was to knock down chimneys from the Edwardian age, and it's you talk about a guy that just poured his heart and soul into his machinery, and he paid the price for it at times too with divorces and whatnot. But if you get a chance, watch a few of those episodes because he just
Right.
amazes me. I just want to thank you. I just want to thank you for all this. This was great. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for coming on and talking to me. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Randall from the Shed by the Tracks YouTube channel. Be sure to check out his channel. I'm sure you will enjoy it as much as I do. Remember to subscribe to the Flivver Channel Talks podcast. Join us for more interviews and conversations about pre-war cars and stuff in the weeks and months ahead. Do you have suggestions for future guests on this podcast? Please let us know. If you have questions or comments for Randall or myself, drop us a line on YouTube comments or through our social media accounts. Good night. Thank you, Randall.
Thank
Great to
you.
talk to you.
All righty.
Until next time.
Okay.
See you.